Peace. Welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation, folks. Happy Monday. We got a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about how there was a testy former President Trump as he testified in his $250 million civil fraud case. I will share with you the latest of what the president had to say during that situation. Also, we're going to talk about, speaking of presidents, celebrating the election of America's first black president, President Barack Obama. Y'all remember that day 15 years ago in 2008 when the first family took the stage there in Grant Park in Chicago, and they had a whole celebration, a big reunion. And make me ask the question, okay, as we reflect on the president, what thoughts come to your mind, crew, as we look at that moment? Folks, also we'll check in with our sister and our resident doctor, Dr. Bridget, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. And she's going to talk to us a lot about lung cancer to smoking and everything else related to your heart and lung health. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And later on, I got something special for you. So stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. I'm your host, Farajii. I did say that, didn't I? I did say that. Happy Monday, folks. Happy Monday as we are as we're kicking off another fantastic week of news and information, and more importantly, dope-ass conversations, cultural, social, political conversations with you today. And I'm very, very excited about what we got lined up for you. So let's jump right in. First and foremost, though, we have to let you know that we are streaming on our home network of blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you go to our website today, download the app for free, and of course, follow us on social media. We would love to connect with you. And more importantly, we would love your support. So your financial donation will mean everything to us, and it means all of the world to us. So make sure you give a little something, something. Don't have to be that much, but something to help power this movement that we are embarked upon here on Black Star Network. So you can check us out there. Also on the Amazon platforms. You can find us on Amazon News on your Fire TV. Also, we're on Amazon Prime Video, and that's where you can find us on Prime Video app under Live TV, then go to News, or Amazon.com under Prime Video, the Live TV, the News. And we would love to connect with you on that space as well. So that's a lot to talk about. And we are on Freevee. It is on our Freevee that you can find us right now on Freevee, under News, as well as Plex TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We would love to have you check us out there as well. All right, let's jump right in. As the culture crew is in the chat, I see you, Pauline. Pauline, thank you so much for checking in. Pastor Damon, there we go. Hey, Pastor Damon, thank you so much, big brother. And I appreciate that message that you sent me, big brother. Thank you so much. Big brother Willie Frazier, happy Monday, brother Willie. Thank you so much, dear brother, for checking in once again. Can't wait to hear what you got to say. ABX girl, I see you, sis. Thank you so much, ABX girl. Thank you. Tiana, I appreciate you for checking in as well. Thank you. Tiana said, yeah. Did y'all know that? Y'all remember it was like an hour back? That kind of threw me off yesterday, but I guess we're all good now. Anastasia, peace and love to you too, Anastasia. Thank you so much for checking in. That hour threw me off, folks, but we all good. We are definitely good here. All right, let's jump right into these conversations very quickly, folks, as we talk a little bit about what's going on with a testy President Trump who had to testify in his $250 million civil fraud case, folks. And did we not expect him to have a certain type of feelings about this? This is the case, folks, where they're looking at his business dealings, his enterprise. And basically, it was decided upon that, based on the evidence, that guess what? He has been not been upfront about his financial what can we say? about his financials for his businesses. So when he was called to trial, he took the witness stand in New York courtroom today. And this is a $250 million civil fraud trial that could possibly lead to him breaking apart his business empire. But he, of course, the way classic Trump is, he didn't go down being silent. He testified swinging. He was take a look at this. This is from NBC News. He was sworn in shortly after the court was called in session and was seen ranting about the lawyer questioning him from State Attorney Letitia James's office. He said, "You and every other Democrat coming after me from 15 different sides, all haters." He complained to his questioner, Kevin Wallace. He later complained that people don't know how good a company I built because people like you are going around demeaning me, and I think it's hurting America. He also blasted the state's attorney as a political hack and said the case is a disgrace. Now, we have been doing our part here on Black Star Network, streaming this whole scenario going down. So you can definitely take a look at our stream. If you haven't had a chance, go to blackstarnetwork.com and you can take a look at that. But he was testifying before State Supreme Court Judge Arthur Egeron, whom he mocked on his True Social platform as crazy, totally unhinged, and dangerous. That sounds familiar. Sounds like a description maybe of himself. Crazy, totally unhinged, and dangerous. In one post, he also said, now this is the judge in his trial, folks. He also said that Engoron should be, quote, should be thrown off the bench as a giant embarrassment to New York State. And y'all wonder why the gag order was placed. His account kept posting jabs at the judge and at Letitia James while he was testifying on Monday. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He went off. He went off in the courtroom today, folks. Let me get your thoughts on this, crew, as we take a look at this situation. And then we're going to take a quick pause. Let me see who wants to share with me their thought. Oh, Cindy D, I did not skip you. Stop it. Stop it, Cindy D. You skipped me again, Farajii. I didn't see your name, Cindy. I didn't see your name. Hi, Cindy. Welcome back to the show. All right, Cindy. Cindy, you got something to say. Tell me what your thoughts are about President Trump and his irate behavior in court, even continuing to rail against the judge in the proceedings, going against the state's attorney, going against anybody that's against them. Man, this is classic narcissistic ad of behavior. Let me just say that. Classic narcissistic behavior. Tiana, you checked in and said, so now he want to get mad. Oh, yeah, he want to get big mad, Tiana. He wants to get big mad. There's a lot on the line on this particular case, and I think, Tiana, you know it, and everyone else knows it. There's a lot on the line. It's the basic dismantling of his empire. So if it shows that he is in fact guilty of fraud, and this is how Trump has been operating since the beginning. He's always been operating on this promise, the promise of his notoriety, the promise of him being famous, the promise of him having all this access to money and capital. But if it shows that he is a legitimate fraud, do you think that this is going to change his chances of running for president? That's the other question. Does this change his chances to run for president? Yeah, Pastor Damon, you said he acted like a 2-year-old. Man, please. I know 2-year-olds that act much better than this. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I want to get more of your thoughts about this. Plus, we got to also talk about the fact that the first black president acknowledged the fact that he was the first black president. Yep, he did it real big, too. Obama 15 was the campaign that happened in Chicago over the weekend. 2,500 folks that supported Obama worked with the former president, his family, and others convened at Grant Park, that historic park where it was announced that he was the first family, him and his family were the first family of the United States. Oh, they did it real big this time, real big, all under the banner of democracy. So we'll have that conversation as well. So stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, folks, also a big shout out to y'all as the Culture crew for always encouraging people to smash the like button. Please do so. There you go. Smash that thumbs up button, folks, because we would love to keep our algorithms high on people's timeline and on YouTube and everything. So smashing that like button is absolutely essential, and we greatly appreciate it. All right, folks, let me just go back to that conversation. So, former President Donald Trump got testy as he testified in his trial, just basically going off on a whole lot of people, including the judge, the state's attorney, anybody that was willing to listen. This is some of the live stream, just a little bit of the feed outside of the courtroom in New York today, folks. And the president was not happy that he was being called to the carpet to account for what has been going on with his business dealings in this $250 million civil fraud case. And so he's not happy about it. My question is, it's not necessarily about this case, but the implications of this case. Does this change? Do you think this will really change his chances of becoming president of the United States, folks? I want y'all to give me your take on that. Do you think it would really change? Do you think it would change anybody's view of him as president of the United States? I want to get your take on that. Janelle, my sister, you said everyone here understands that legislation from Congress determines how migration laws and resources actually work. The GOP has blocked many measures proposed to address immigration reform. So y'all having a conversation about immigration. Y'all having a conversation about immigration. I hear that. Vic Abram, you said he can't help it if he can't help it. He can't help it. He got influenza. That I like that, Vic. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for posting that. Yeah, he can't help it. He feels some sense of entitlement, some white man privilege, right, Vic? Like, I shouldn't be in this case. Y'all can't hold me accountable. But do you think it would really damage him if it comes across, folks? Now y'all got to remember the process of this case. Like Letitia James, the state attorney, and Lisa, let's put up if you could find a couple of pictures of our sister, that would be great. Thank you. Letitia James, who has been serious about this case, right? She's one of the 3 black women around the country that is moving forward in holding Donald Trump accountable. So she's hitting him with the whole business side of things, his business dealings in the state of New York. And she has actually called his children. Y'all, I don't know if y'all knew that too, but she actually called his children to the carpet as well around this same issue of like, did you know? How much were you involved? Blah, 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 all of those things. So the implications runs deep, right? It's family wide, of course. And of course, if you're talking about millions of dollars here, but the biggest implication will be how will the American people see the situation? This is Letitia James here. And how will the American people see the situation? Is she saying something? Do we need to put some volume on our sister here to talk to? Let's hear what she got to say. See, do we need to put some volume on? Oh, this is old. Okay. All right. So this is old stuff. But the fact is that she's in a position here where she's trying to hold this man accountable for his business dealings. Now, here's the implication that I'm seeing, and y'all may be seeing the same thing. If he can't keep his money, there he is right there. If he can't be honest about his own business dealings, what makes you think he could be honest about the dealings and the affairs of the great office of the President of the United States? So we gotta ask ourselves that. We gotta ask ourselves that. Can he be honest about that? Can you put a person who is indicted who is on trial for fraud? Can you put them in the United States in the president's office? Yeah, there we go. Tiana, you said this is what happens when you don't hold children accountable. They grow up to be like the great pumpkin. Wow, y'all going for the jugular today. I hear that. Okay. Pastor Damon, my brother, you said face it. When it comes to politics, people are blind when it comes to who they are going to vote for. And ain't that the truth? Hey, Pastor, isn't that the truth? It's like we do not see the full person. We see this imagining, this other person. When they speak to our interests, they speak to our values, they work for us. That's a great point. Excellent point. Real Brooklyn, thank you for checking in, bro. You said, hell no. If anything, he is getting more traction in the popular lane. People are actually seeing him as human. But here's the question, though, Real Brooklyn. When we do see him as human, how many more people will like him as a human being? I mean, if he's going against the judge, if he's railing against all these people, right? Every time he steps out into a courtroom, he's just, the gag order, all of those things. Will we like him as a human being? That's the question then. That's the question I'm posing for you, bro. I think that's a great point, but that opens up that part of the conversation is, will we like him as a human being? Big brother Willie Frazier, you said nothing is stopping that man from being president again. The social structure really wants this man back in office. Yeah, the social structure definitely wants this man back in office. But I wonder if he's going to get the 70 million plus voters that he got before, or we're going to see a decline. He's been traveling now in the midst of all of these legal challenges. He still has been traveling. He still has been pumping it up. I think I mentioned it last week. I did, actually. I mentioned this last week. He went to the state of South Carolina, which greeted warmly by those followers of those GOP members in South Carolina, right? But you know who else state that is? Nikki Haley, who's running against him. And he's still number one in the polls against Nikki Haley. She's coming at a distant second. I'm telling folks, there has to be a revolution of values in this country. I'm serious. Like when we really think about it, if we're putting fraudsters, liars, and I know that this is always how politicians have been, but at some point, when do we say enough is enough? When do we say enough is enough? Pauline said, Real Brooklyn, that he is not human. Pauline, what do you mean by that, my sister? What do you mean by this? He is not human. Okay, that's interesting. And Brother Damon, you are one back to say this is all a fundraiser for him, free publicity. I think so. I mean, he has been cashing in, and I mean, he's been getting big dollars from the fact that he's able to kind of be seen as this martyr, this victim of the system, right? And this is what connects with people, both black and white folks and Latinos, and everybody feels like, the system. It's such an interesting dynamic, Brother Damon, and I don't know if you thought about it this way, but this is something that crossed my mind. It's an interesting dynamic that he can play. Here's a man who says he's worth all this money, but essentially, here's a man who has all of this privilege, all of these access to resources, all of money, whatever the case may be, regardless of how much it is. But he still plays himself as the victim when he is one of the biggest beneficiaries of white supremacy, capitalist, patriarchal culture in this country. One of the biggest beneficiaries of it, right? And then at the same time, he still says, well, I'm the victim. And it is that message that has resonated with so many people, especially talking about some of the folks that are within his base. You're talking about those who are, working class folks, folks that feel like they don't have a voice, they don't have a say. And he plays off of that, even though he is opposite of that. And it works for him. It works for his base. And I think it's absolutely mind-boggling, to say the least, that it does work for him. Taylor, you said this is not the card game. Trump doesn't translate to you win. Your votes for another candidate in huge number helps to guarantee he doesn't become POTUS again, President of the United States again. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And Lori, you went as far as to say he walks with Lucifer. I don't know if he walks with, I don't even know what to do with that statement, Lori. I don't know what to say. I don't know who he walks with. But let me just tell you something. Let me just say this. He doesn't walk with us. He doesn't walk with us. And so since he doesn't walk with us, he's going to have to walk down that line, folks. We will have to see how this situation turns out. But trust and believe, if you think that I think that we should constantly put it out there. Like, look, this is a real problem. This is a problem for not just democracy. This is not just a problem for Black people. I mean, this is a problem as a culture that we allow certain people to get in like this, to rise, to ascend to the seats of power, to the positions of power and influence. And we don't bat an eye to the point where we stop them. It's not enough just to say, this is crazy. But it's something totally different when you say, this is crazy, and this is not the place, this is not what I want to see in this country. At this point, we have to redefine how we want our country to be. We all live here, we all work here, we all play here, and we certainly die. Some of us will die here, right? Regardless of where we move. But this is home, and we have to take more responsibility and ownership of the country we want to see, and not the one that we're currently in. All right, look, got to take another quick pause when we come forward. Let's talk about the first Black president as we go from Trump. Let's talk about his predecessor, President Barack Obama, celebrating 15 years since he was brought into the Oval Office. I'm going to share with you the video he shared on Twitter, and let's talk a little bit more about what the president has accomplished and how he has grown to be this transformational leader in not just Black America, but all of America and around the globe. We're going to take your thoughts on President Barack Obama and 15 years later. So stay with us. That part of the conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being being the voice of Black America rolling.
Stay black. I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Let's talk a little bit about what happened 15 years ago. Well, you know what? I don't want to talk about it. At least let's play the video. President Barack Obama over the weekend on Saturday, 15 years ago, folks, on Saturday, he was elected to be the first black president of the United States. Y'all remember that moment in 2008? How can anybody forget what happened in that magical moment when he and his family walked out onto the stage at Grant Park to show the world that a black man, a black woman, and their beautiful black daughters will now inhabit the White House. Take a look.
Next, first family of the United States of America.
All right, everybody. This could not be a more meaningful reunion. We could not be more proud and inspired by you. Keep on doing the work you do.
Well, that was former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama. And some people say he's still a president, and some will always say she will forever be the First Lady. As they entered Grant Park, the same place that they were introduced to the world as the new president and First Lady 15 years ago, back in 2008. Saturday was the actual day that momentous occasion took place. But since then, of course, President Barack Obama has been traveling the world, enjoying his time out of public life, but he has still kept his nose into the affairs somewhat. Like I mentioned just last week, that he gave a statement in support of the ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict and some other things that he has done. But this past weekend, he invited 2,500 staffers and those who have assisted him to becoming the first black president back to Grant Park in Chicago for a special reunion. And this reunion were full of journalists, and even during this reunion, it wasn't like all parties, folks. They actually had a forum around democracy, the Obama Foundation Democracy Forum. And there were panels on journalism, economics, artificial intelligence, and more. And of course, a speech that was made by former President Barack Obama. Then we heard words from the former First Lady as part of the celebrations in Chicago. And I don't know if crew, if y'all are in Chicago, did y'all see that? Did you feel the energy? I want y'all to share your thoughts on this as we're talking about what happened 15 years ago as we celebrated the first black president. Janelle, you said, I hope we don't have to consider Obama one and done. That's interesting. What do you mean by that, Janelle? I don't want to assume that you know what they say about people that assume. So instead of me putting myself in that position, what do you mean by that? And you mean in terms of the type of person and the type of candidate that he is? Transformational leader. We know President Barack Obama, and I appreciate you, Danielle. Thank you so much for posting that. We know President Barack Obama is a transformational leader. His words, his actions, his politics. Like one of the things I will say, and look, there again, folks, when we talk about a person's legacy, especially a political figure's legacy, you gotta look at both the good and the not so good, right? So you got to look at the things like what Obama has tried to do, what he was able to do, and the things that he kind of laid back on. You know, we certainly could be critical of that. And I think that's for any president, any political leader. But I think we all can agree with the type of man that he is, his character, the type of man that he is with his wife and his family, the type of man that he is. Like we really are seeing a very high level black of view of black excellence. And I don't think anyone can say, oh no, not President Barack Obama. Like he really is a solid guy. You could just, he doesn't seem like he's the type of guy that's gonna, you might disagree with his politics on certain things, but in terms of his person, who he is as a person, he seems pretty solid. Real Brooklyn, you said, damn. It's been 15 years, right, bro? 15 years, Real Brooklyn. You said, holy smoke, time goes by hella fast. I know that day when he became president, every dead Confederate soldier turned over in their grave. Hey, how about that? How about that? Y'all remember the moments leading up to that moment where he walked out there on stage? Like that picture, I think will forever be emblazoned in our memory. I mean, we saw them and no shade on the former president, but he gotten older in the hair, right? We know that. Like 15 years, and it looks like First Lady Michelle Obama didn't age. I mean, she got, she looks like he got a little older in the hair. But anyway, that's just not the here nor there. But the fact is that, yeah, it's been 15 years since the former president has been with us in the White House. And it was a major moment. I think it was one of the greatest moments in American history. I'm gonna just say that. I'm saying outside of his politics, I don't think about all that. I'm talking about just that moment. There was so much hope in the air. There was so much hope in the air. You just felt like as an American, as a person, and whether you're black or white, you felt like this was a turning point. And actually, it was in some cases. We can't negate that. It really was. It really was. Because we saw him, he didn't just serve one term, y'all. He served two. He served two. But I think the president of the Obama that we're getting now is a much more mature, evolved, obviously. His personal views is definitely interesting. I remember reading a piece about the president and how he wrote, how he was influenced by some of the great, political thinkers. Some people kind of kind of got on him about being connected to Saul Alinsky and the ideas that Saul Alinsky often put out there, right? But one thing that President Obama, you cannot take away from, he's a brilliant man. He's a critical thinker, right? He thinks about this stuff. And this is why he did have the Democracy Forum this past weekend in Chicago, which is to look at this. He put it out there, and I saw this earlier this morning as we prepared for the show. that he said he wanted America to shift from just a capitalist system to an inclusive capitalist system where materials was not the driving force, but the motivation to improve humanity became the new capital. I'm gonna just take a sip on that one. Inclusive capitalism. Now, this is what I'm saying. Like sometimes you get the best of a person after they leave a position, right? And you can get the depth. You can get to plumb the depth of their thinking after they finally finished in a role. But he's a thinker. When he was in college, and I remember reading this piece about him. When he was in college, and he was, editor of the Harvard Law Review. And after he got some time out of college, like doing the work of community organizing, he wrote notes on how to restructure the whole American system of and what democracy could look like that could actually work for the benefit of Black folks and marginalized people. And he scribbled some notes. There was a plan, or there was some talk about him releasing this book around his personal politics that have been inspired by a whole lot of thinkers from Dr. King, Saul Alinsky, and many others. But he looked at the whole system. And so that's part of the reason why I'm saying to y'all that we need thinkers. We don't need just managers in our system. We need innovators and thinkers. All right, let me see something. Cindy D, you said Mitch McConnell so tried to make Obama a one-term president. I think he tried too hard to be liked by both parties. I call him Sally Field. You like me? You really, really like me? He walked the line. He did. He did. In some cases, he definitely walked the line. And I think in one of his latest books that the last book he put out there, or it wasn't, maybe it wasn't the book, but he admitted that he could have done more around the whole killing of Black men during that rash of police killings that happened under his time in office. He admitted that he wished he could have done, he could have done more. I mean, yes, he sent his state's attorney to investigate, and they looked into Ferguson and all of those things. But I think he recognized that culturally there needed to be a different conversation. Mike V, you said Obama is talking about socialism, Farajii Muhammad. Can we really have I can't do it today. Well, Mike V, this is the look of confirmation. Absolutely. Absolutely. He's talking about socialism, but in a way that doesn't scare people, right? Like, I think that's what it is. Like, I think that it's okay for us to have these other conversations because, it's just like everything else. You put a language, you put a title, you put a label, you use a certain term, and it sticks with people forever. It's like socialism is full of a lot of other feelings and terms, and people start to shy away. But when you think about it at its root, it's talking about equity. It's talking about folks having an equal playing field. It's talking about all things. But to your point, Mike V, yeah, that's what I got from it as well. Monkey Confessions, you said no to reparations, but issued it to Guam. And this is the part that we do have to see. Like, we got to be very realistic about what that president brought to the table. Who else are we going to see here? Let me get this. You said Taylor, he had foresight and fought the battles that he was more likely to win rather than wasting time of a 4-year presidency treading water. I appreciate his sacrifice. Foresight to fight the battles that he was more likely to win. And he did not win a lot of battles because he had a Congress that was against him. The Republicans were in control. So he could not do as much as he wanted to do. And he could not be the president all the time of Black folks. And I'm saying that looking in hindsight, obviously, but he could not do that. He could not be that president. But guess what? That's also the expectation that we had, right? And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, crew. I'm always challenged that when we talk about the legacy of President Barack Obama, Is it the fact that he couldn't do those things, or is it because we had such a high expectation that our expectations couldn't be met? Y'all feel me on that? So it's always that. It's always going to be that. Yes, he did some things for the LGBTQ community and for other communities, and he actually did do some things for black folks, right? I remember back in Baltimore, as we close out, I remember back in Baltimore that My Brother's Keepers program was an institutionalized program coming from the president, coming from the White House, to spread out across this country and to have these conversations and to come up with ways. I was personally involved in that in Baltimore and working with other black men in the city of Baltimore to help in that process. Like, there is some good things that he actually has done for black folks, right? But again, there are some things that we wouldn't be happy to be about. But the expectation is that if you're black, you're going all in for black folks. And guess what? The system doesn't allow that. The system doesn't allow a black political leader, a black economic leader, a black social leader, a black healthcare leader to go all in. It just doesn't allow that. So you do have to, when we talk about reform, when we're talking about working from the inside and changing things, that's one of the expectations that we have, that, yeah, we could talk about those things, but if you are a black person, you're going into this current order of things, this current system, you're not going to be able to do all that you can do and want to do for your people, because the system is not designed to think about its oppressed. It's not designed to think about its former slaves. So we got to keep that in mind as well. Tiana, I'm going to end on this note because I think it's an excellent point. You said, I hate to see what happens when a black woman becomes president. Lord, 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 may God be with us. I would love to see it. Absolutely love it. I would vote 16 times for the system. I would love to see it. But is the culture ready for that? The culture wasn't ready for a woman president in Hillary Clinton. Maybe it's because of Hillary. Maybe it's because of who she is. Maybe it's because of the fact she's a woman. But we saw something different. The culture was more inclined to see a black man becoming president than a white woman. I don't know if that's going to be the same challenge that would face a black woman running for president. But are we ready to see a black woman in that seat, in that position? Different conversation. Much, much different circumstances now than it was 15 years ago. So big congratulations to President Barack Obama, and more importantly, his family, and for getting through those 8 years. Y'all remember that walk they took that? As I close out, I remember that moment. Remember when they got to the White House, that inauguration day, and they took that walk? Y'all remember that walk? And y'all remember what everybody was thinking? Y'all remember that. Like, boy, don't step out that car. Please wave from the car, Mr. President. Please wave. God had his hand on that, family. So he had to do what he had to do. He played the role that he needed to play. But trust and believe, from what I got from his presidency, it doesn't matter whether you're black or white, as Michael Jackson said, right? When the country is in a different space and the country is not fully ready for change, then this country can never say that there wasn't an opportunity to change. This country can never say that we didn't offer you the best, the brightest that we had, because President Obama, Michelle Obama, some of the best and the brightest thinking black folks we ever produced from this generation. So there can be no excuses made. You didn't want that man in office. You talked bad about his wife and the family, and now you want some redemption. You want some what do they say? Some leniency. It may not happen. It may not happen. Look, I got to take a quick pause when we come forward. Let's talk about health and well-being. We're going to be checking in with our resident doctor, Dr. Bridget, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black
own media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Before we jump into the second half of the show, I want to invite you to make sure y'all check us out on all of our platforms. But our original platform, our home platform, is blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you download the link, download the app, follow us on social media under Black Star Network, and more importantly, give something to help us in this digital movement that we are embarked upon. So make sure you go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com, and we would love to get your support. We also streaming live on Amazon News, on your Fire TV. We're also streaming on Amazon Prime Video, as well as Freevee and Flex TV, 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. And of course, we're streaming on social media platforms, Facebook, and you can find us under Roland Martin's YouTube page, and you can join us in the chat right now to be a part of the illustrious culture crew that's just jamming right now. A lot of great thoughts, a lot of questions, and more importantly, just a lot of sentiment around the conversations that we've had in the first half, dealing with President Trump and celebrating 15 years after the historic election of President Barack Obama. So make sure y'all do that. But now it is time, as always on Monday, it is now time for us to get our health and well-being checked on. Let's check in now with Dr. Bridget MD for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. Dr. Bridget MD.
How are you, Farajii?
I'm good. How are you, Doc?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good. Hey, Doc, real quick question.
Yes.
2008, 15 years ago, where were you when President Barack Obama was elected and you saw him walking out there on stage? Where were you at that moment?
Wow. So I was living in Solon, Ohio. I have to overdo everything. So my kids had, I ordered these T-shirts that said I can be president. And I think, even though they were little, I think I did like a fake little voting booth at my house. So before they went to school that morning, they had to vote on dinner. And then I counted the ballots and made dinner that day. And then we sat around and watched it on TV. And I way overdid it. I definitely.
I love it.
But memorable, right? And so that's what it was about. I wanted to make it memorable for them.
I never forget when Wolf Blitzer said it's at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He said the votes have been tallied. You know how he get that voice, the votes have been tallied. Barack Obama is the president. And I remember just like, oh, what?
Yeah.
And then you see him coming out on stage, you're like, woo! You just felt like. But I like that. I like the idea of the little voting ballots. I like that. Like, what you want for dinner? That's cool. That would never happen in my family, but it's all good though. 'Cause my children be like, "We're not voting. We're just telling you."
Yeah, right. You know what I think was more like, I remember waking up the next morning and driving to work. I was like, I still got to go to work. Like, I was thinking it's like winning the lottery, right? I was like, I still got to go to work. I mean, and I called my mom and I said, is life different today? Is it different? Are we different? You know, because you literally felt like everything must have changed, right? Like everything's got to be different now. And so there's this feeling of hope that I don't know if, that we haven't had, I think, in a very, very, very long time.
A long time. That's a great point.
And I would say for our generation, I don't had that hope. The only thing that I can imagine is, during the time of Martin Luther King and the strides that he made, and that he gave hope to so many. And I don't think our generation has ever really, I think it was inspiring when Jesse Jackson was running, and it was almost like in disbelief, like, is this possible? Can we do this? What's going on? And to see his work, and, because we don't get here on our own, and to see the work that he did, and then to have it come to fruition through Obama was, that was exciting. Very exciting.
It was very exciting. Very exciting. Where were you? Did you have your own practice?
I was at the Cleveland Clinic. So I had my own practice, but through the Cleveland Clinic, yes.
Gotcha. Well, that is very, I had to pick your brain on that because I don't want people to think like, Doc was in there, y'all. Y'all don't know about Dr. Bridget. She'd be around in places and spaces. Next thing you know, you'd be like, Dr. Bridget was there? I'm surprised Dr. Bridget was like, yeah, so I was backstage at Grant Park.
I'm gonna start making up, because you want to hear a good. I'm gonna make up some stuff and see what she says.
No, I don't want to do that. We're supposed to trust you. No, we don't want to do that. Very quickly before we take our next pause, you do want to talk about something that I think is very important and very interesting, because you plan out like 3 different pieces around this idea of like lung cancer, lung health, and just talking about smoking in general. And when we come back, I want to kind of get your take on this, because smoking seems to be, it used to be a major like health epidemic, right? Like it just seemed to be like this very big thing, cultural thing, but it's not anymore as much as it used to be. Am I wrong in thinking that, or is it just?
You're absolutely wrong. Yeah.
It's still a major thing.
Well, huge issue. And, I think other things we've kind of overrid the whole thing with, there's the cannabis conversation, there's the opioid epidemic, and when you have that, people don't pay as much attention to smoking. And even though we smoke less, it's still a major issue. It's still a major aspect. 30% of cancers are due to, smoking and, lung cancer. But, even though there've been changes in our young people and they're getting smarter than we were, our youngest group is actually having more issues. So definitely important to talk about.
Let's talk about it on the other side. Folks, we're going to be connecting with our sister, Dr. Bridget, MD, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. Folks, get ready to pose your questions and share your thoughts as we talk about the ongoing epidemic of smoking, lung cancer, youth tobacco use, and so much more in this edition of the Reclaim Your Wellness. So stay with us. These conversations are up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together, so let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We've been checking in and talking, and as we know, on Mondays we have our special segment called Reclaim Your Wellness with our very own Dr. Bridget, MD. Make sure y'all follow her on all social media platforms as well, folks. Dr. Bridget is she's moving and shaking all across the country and in some parts of the world, so make sure y'all follow her. But today she want to talk to us about this ongoing epidemic of smoking.
Yeah,
Smoking is still a problem in America.
It's still a problem, and I agree with you, Farajii. I think that there's so much other information, and we always have to look at what the spin, the news cycle is when we are looking at information. The fact of the matter is, smoking is still an issue, and in particular, it's gotten to the point that 80 national public health organizations have supported a ban on menthol cigarettes and flavored cigars. And so we're talking about the American Medical Association, American Academy of Pediatrics, and the American College of Preventive Medicine being some of the larger organizations that have actually put a full-page ad in the Washington Post to say they want a federal ban on menthol cigarettes and flavored cigars. And the reason is because smoking is still killing over 500,000 people in the United States every year. The reason why I think it's particularly important for the Black community is that when it comes to menthol cigarettes, we are the largest consumer. 85% of Black adults who smoke use menthol. Okay?
Wow.
That it seems like it's the go-to, right? The issue is that menthol is more addictive. Okay. It's harder to quit. It interacts with nicotine in our brain so that when you do say enough is enough, it is harder for you to quit than it is for someone that uses, a different cigarette. And it is, so if you're in a space where you want to move on from this, you're going to struggle. Okay. And so we have this out there that, we tend to be the ones that are buying it, and we're the ones that are suffering with it.
So Doc, talk to us about I mean, of course, on every cigarette package, there's that Surgeon General's warning, right,
Hmm.
about the impact of smoking.
Hmm.
Are people at least, because there's so many different alternatives? So this is like a two-part question. The first thing is, because there are so many different alternatives to smoking, are people at least, the tobacco use among adults, those 85% you talk about with black
Hmm.
adults, has it decreased at all? Because now you have vaping, now you have cannabis. I mean, is that all these other like alternative forms, kind of breaking up that majority hold that smoking has, that tobacco has on folks?
It has, but at the same time, I mean, there are definitely different means, right? Like you said, that there's the e-cigarettes, but that keep in mind the e-cigarettes don't make it better. Even though e-cigarettes were originally planned and created to help people quit smoking. Okay.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a device that allowed people to slowly get away from nicotine and still deal with that hand to mouth routine that they're used to. But the tobacco companies got a hold of it, and they're actually more potent than a pack of cigarettes themselves. And so they created a bigger monster in essence. And so even though there are other options out there, hasn't stopped people from still using the menthol cigarettes. Most people that use menthol cigarettes aren't aware that it's going to be harder for them to quit them. And
Yeah.
then when we're talking about 30% of cancers are related to this, it's a big issue. So keep in mind that if we prohibit menthol cigarettes, it would save 650,000 lives and
Mm.
255,000 Black lives. So
Is that per year? Is that per year, Doc?
right, in the US within over a 40-year period. So if we ban it today, we
Yeah.
would save 654 lives in the US within 40 years. So that over time, with it decreasing that use, we would see this increase in our population, people that would have died that will not. And 255,000 would actually be from the Black community.
What is in menthol that makes it so dangerous?
So it does make it easier and more palatable to begin with, but also the menthol is interacting with your brain and with the nicotine so that it enhances the nicotine's addictive quality. So it makes it a little bit easier to take a hold of.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And this is an ongoing conversation. We've seen this politically, administration after administration. Is there any health organization that's really advocating for this to happen?
Well, I mean, 80 different I think 88 or no, 80 different organizations have agreed that there needs to be a ban. What I think needs to be understood is that the National Association of Tobacco Outlets, which are about 66,000 stores that sell tobacco products, are very much against the ban. And that, probably of no surprise, right? That
Right.
they don't believe a ban on menthol cigarettes or flavored cigars will suddenly make people smoke less, and they think it would actually increase criminal activity. I guess they believe that people will start making their own or stealing them, or I'm not quite sure, but they think
Mhm.
it'll increase criminal activity. So, but let's not, ignore the obvious. If they have a ban on menthol cigarettes, that is going to cut into their pockets significantly.
As a doctor, as you kind of looking at this whole conversation, like what and I'm sure you got a number of patients that come in with symptoms or health issues because of smoking. What do you
Mhm.
tell them?
Don't, you know, don't.
Right, right.
I definitely.
How do you break that up though? How do you break up that addictive quality that menthol has? How do you help a person get off of that?
Right. So I really start with, what is their history, right? And so I find out how long they've been smoking, because it makes a big difference in how difficult it might be to quit smoking, right? And so I try to understand how long have they been smoking and how that might play into how difficult that may be. I try to understand their lifestyle, right? So if you want people to make a life change, you really have to have an understanding of what they're dealing with to begin with, and whether they're actually ready for change. And so if they have a high stress life, it's about how, before I even talk about the smoking, I want to know what other ways can we use for you to manage the stress in your life? What do we need to do to get rid of some of the stress in your life? Because if I just say, oh, you have all these problems and you smoke to kind of relax and kind of maintain, but I don't actually address the problem that makes you smoke in the first place, how successful are you going to be? So I start with, what is the problem, first of all? And then when we're ready, and I know that, you're committed to quitting, then I try to find things to help you get away from the habit, the physical habit, whether it's chewing gum or some people chew on straws or toothpicks or different ways. There's so many ways to approach it. I've tried to find out what's the best way for you. But I think what we don't discuss is, why were you smoking in the first place? And I start there.
Justice? You can't prescribe justice. You can't be like, oh, get a dose. Hey, here's some justice in a bottle. Go down to the pharmacy. What do you prescribe to Black smokers on why they're stressing out? Let me see. How about jobs, justice, truth? No, it's a big question. No, honestly, real talk. Now, I get it, because I think even the quote unquote most conscious of us, we all have these vices. And I got to take a quick pause, but we got these vices. We're trying to cope through the day to day, right? We all are trying to figure this thing out. And even though we know, some people, this may not be smoking. It might be an excessive diet, an extreme diet regimen, or it might be excessive exercise. And I know people go to the gym and run and do all of those things. So we all, I think, to that point, to that big question you posed, it speaks volumes about where we are in this country. Like we're still trying to figure out how to deal with stress, how to cope with day-to-day existence, right? And I think that's a huge, huge question. Look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, I got some questions from the crew for you, Doc. So I want to get your take, and so much more as we talk about menthol, the federal ban on menthol. We're talking about smoking and so much more that Dr. Bridget is going to share with us around this issue. So stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We've been checking in with Dr. Bridget, MD, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness segment as we talk about smoking. And Dr. Bridget's got so much information she want to share with us this afternoon about where we are with this ongoing epidemic that continues to take so many people's lives, whether it's through addiction or whether it's through the act itself in terms of fatalities. And so we're talking about it, breaking it down. But there is a resistance, there's a pushback on this idea of banning menthols, which can be found in all of your consumer cigarettes. There's still a lot of pushback on banning menthols. And this is where I think, Doc, this is when things get a little bit dicey because here is a product that's on the market. And people know the risk. I don't think anybody who lights up a cigarette don't think about the health implications of that particular product.
Right.
So I think that happens, but we're in a culture too, which pretty much kind of like, hey, this is cool. Right. This is, I mean, remember when smoking back in the, say 50 years ago, smoking was introduced as being the cool thing to do, right? Like your favorite actors and all of those. This is the cool thing. But now we're at this point in 2023 when we're saying, look, this is really harmful to people. This is really killing people. Yet big tobacco still has a seat at the table. They're not being shunned by government. They're not being shunned by politicians. They're not being shunned by doctors. And so what's the pushback? People are checking in and folks are sharing their personal stories about family members who have suffered as a result of smoking. We all can probably have shared a story about someone close to us that has suffered.
It's impossible.
Are we really? Yeah,
Everybody knows somebody, right?
Everybody knows somebody, lung cancer or death, right? So how far along have we really gotten in this effort to try to cut down on the consumption of cigarettes and people smoking? Do you think that we have made great progress in that space yet?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely making changes, so don't get me wrong. Smoking has definitely decreased, and our high school students are actually, making some of the better decisions at this point. We were very concerned about high school students taking on e-cigarettes and those issues, but overall tobacco use among youths has actually dropped slightly, but it's dropped by about 1% since last year. And this is mainly due to a decrease in e-cigarette use by high school students. And so
Peter,
is promising.
So I was going to say, because P. Jackson checked in and wanted to know. She said, I think more young people are vaping. Can the doctor speak on the health risk with vaping?
Yes. So I would say that, let me say that high school students are decreasing. The message has gotten out. And I know just even with my own daughters, there's definitely, they kind of turn their nose up to the kids that are vaping. Now, is it a problem in schools? Without a doubt. Bathrooms are filled with it and there's issues, but the message is getting there. So that makes me feel a little bit better that some of the work that we're doing, some of the high school students are decreasing their use. The problem is that among middle school students, overall tobacco use actually increased from 4.5 to 6.6%. And basically they're using everything. They're cigarettes, cigars, the middle school kids, I don't know, they're losing their mind, I guess. They are using more and more products. And I guess it's that experimental phase and that time, but I don't think the message has gotten out to them the way that we have focused on our high school students. And we are going to have to work harder to protect them.
Okay, absolutely. Willie Fraser said, Doc, I have a friend that tried to quit cold turkey and damn near died. Is there anything medically behind this?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what that means. So I will tell you that in the course of quitting, I often see patients develop a little bit of a bronchitis, and a lot of my previous smokers will say, I don't remember being this sick when I was smoking, but it's usually because you're now cleaning up your lungs. Your lungs starting to work more. You're getting some of that gunk out, and in the course of it, sometimes you're a viral infection. Sometimes a bacterial infection might occur, but I would say by no means is this an issue where you don't quit smoking. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is simply that your lungs are actually waking up and working again. And they're trying to clear out some of the damage that you've done. So it's important to not discourage people in the course of their journey into quitting, because most people have to quit 3 times before it actually sticks. So we always want to encourage them to be mindful, know that they're ready, and to take another stab at it, because it will prolong and possibly save their life.
Absolutely.
Now, specifically when it comes to the menthol, it's not in every cigarette. So I don't want to necessarily say, keep smoking, just change brands. But I kind of want to say, if you want to quit smoking, change brands. Because if you're using a menthol cigarette and it tastes better, it goes, it's smoother as you're taking it in. The menthol brands are Newports. Everybody knows a Newport smoker. Cool and Salem cigarettes. They're all new menthol cigarette brands. And I guess what I'm suggesting, if it's time, what if you switch brands? And then from there, let's get you off of cigarettes entirely, right? Because it's harder to quit if you're smoking menthol. And these brands have been pumped into our communities. They've been pumped into our advertisement. Everybody knows somebody where they smoke these specific brands, and they keep smoking those specific brands, right? And we have to do better. And we have to say that if this makes it harder for us, let's put a ban on it. So it is, at least we don't have that against us as well.
Right. And especially when you're having this conversation with the next generation of young people.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now, the one thing that I want to say has changed, and I definitely want to make sure our audience is aware, is that there's even been a change in the screening guidelines around lung cancer.
And that's what I want to talk about, Doc. I want to give us a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about that. And I still got some more questions from the crew. Stay with us, folks, as we continue to talk about smoking, the impact, the implications, and so much more right here on Reclaim Your Wealth, where you reclaim your wellness with Dr. Bridget here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We have been checking in with Dr. Bridget for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness segment. And Doc, you were talking about just the impact of smoking and more importantly, the impact that it has on the next generation of young people. You're making a point that according to new studies, that youth tobacco use has actually declined, even though it's about a small percentage, it's on the decline right now. But they're still vaping and there are still ways to kind of like there are alternatives if we find that young people want that oral fixation and you don't like my music, you've been talking about this, that there is this ongoing satisfaction of oral fixation. Talk to us a little bit about this, Doc, that people still in the midst of stress, and some people say that addiction is rooted out of trauma and then it brings them to this point of oral fixation. You don't like my music made the point that if people once people stop smoking, they actually start gaining weight. So can is all of this kind of give us some clarity about all of this?
So, I mean, in the course of a regular smoker, they're used to that hand to mouth activity, right? And once you have a regular rhythm going and basically a pattern into your life, it's sometimes really hard to do that, right? And if you're used to whether it's having the cigarette in your mouth or the motion of your hands or what have you, it's a lot easier to quit smoking if you are eating, because you're not going to eat, chew, and smoke. Or if you have gum in your mouth, or if you have sugar-free candy, or if your hands are busy and you're using a fidget spinner or, what have you. It's hard to do multiple things at the same time. When people quit smoking, they're like, well, I'll replace the cigarette with the fork, and I'll start eating instead of, because you're used to this activity that happens, and you have to find ways to reprogram your brain. And in reprogramming your brain, knowing how better to deal with your stress, you will start to replace that activity, hopefully with something that's better for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tiana said all the brands advertised to Black folks. It was smoking, and I was posed by another question as it relates to this. That isn't it true that big tobacco intentionally targeted Black people in ads because they have always known how addictive it was? Is there any change, or is there any things coming down from the pipe on to compensate for that? What's your take on that, Doc?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping that this ban occurs. I'm hoping that the fact of the matter is there always be vices, as you said earlier, right? And we live in a stressful world. I get it. But we don't have to have a vice that will literally kill us either. And particularly vices that are targeted to us to cause us more harm. And so as far as there being any sort of awareness that since this was targeted towards the Black community, will there be a class action suit against that? I haven't seen that yet, but I will tell you, if there's a ban on it, we'll probably come closer to that. And I hope that, everybody wants to make money, and I'm sure that these tobacco retailers can see down the pipeline that they are struggling, particularly if we ban menthol and flavored cigarettes or flavored cigars, because basically if it tastes better, kids are more interested in it, adults stick to it longer. But we have to do better. We can't keep making poor health decisions, particularly at the sacrifice of other people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does that play into cannabis use, Doc? Because some people might be listening to this conversation and they're saying, you know what? What about cannabis use? Isn't that the same thing, the same process? Taylor said, how can a person favor cannabis but speaking against vaping? Cannabis can be vaped. Vaping is simply a way to ingest or take it into the body. Can you speak to that?
Okay, so first of all, I think that is a great question, because I'm not necessarily pro vaping in itself or pro combustion of cannabis itself. Okay. Combustion meaning anytime that you light something on fire and it burns, you release carcinogens. So in no time have I said that I think smoking is great. tobacco, cannabis. I've never said that. When it comes to vaping itself, I don't think we have enough information to know the long-term effects, but I know that what we know right now, that compared to combustion, vaping is a better option. I did not say it's a favored option or that I think it is a go-to. However,
Mm-hmm.
what I am in favor of is the medicinal properties of cannabis. And that
Okay.
you'll hear me talk about. You will hear me also say that it is not nearly as addictive, okay? And at no point in time has it killed anyone. So if you have to choose your vice, you are better off choosing cannabis as an option than ever using tobacco or nicotine. And that if you're talking about choosing cannabis medicinally for pain, anxiety, what have you, opioids kill thousands of people every year and creates incredible addiction in our communities. Cannabis has not. I am not, I don't hold back as far as are we ignoring the fact that some people do create a bad relationship with it. And I am very conscious of making sure that I am on the right side of history, particularly since I started my medical career during or really at the onset of the opioid crisis. But I know for sure that what cannabis can do as far as cancer, anxiety, pain, diabetes, and so much more, that it is a better medicinal option that with even more research, it will become a standard part of our medical practice, and that nicotine has no point in any of this.
Mm. Mm. So let's talk a little bit as we got the final few minutes, Doc. Let's talk a little bit about moving forward in this whole thing.
Yes.
What does that look like from your vantage point as a physician, as a healthcare professional?
Right. So I'm very much aware that, I'm sure that we have some, tobacco smokers, in our audience, and even people that have quit smoking. But the American Cancer Society has changed their recommendations as far as screening for lung cancer. And I think this is very important because we always haven't done a great job screening for it, because most of the time there's really nothing there per se that we can see until it is already too late. And so at this point, what they have done is they want people to have a yearly screening for lung cancer. And that screening is a low dose CAT scan so that you're not getting great amounts of radiation. And it's for people 50 to 80 years old. Now, what's important about this is not just for our current smokers, but this is for anyone who previously used to smoke 20-pack year history. A 20-pack year history means that how many packs of cigarettes you've smoked within a year. So meaning if you are a 1 pack a day smoker and you smoke for 20 years, you're a 20-pack year smoker. Okay. If you smoke two packs of cigarettes a day, okay, for 10 years, that is a 20-pack year smoker. Okay. So look at how many packs a day you smoke and for how many years, and calculate that to be what your pack year is. So if you're a 20-pack year smoker or previously were a pack year smoker, then you need to get a yearly CAT scan. And, I think this is important because we weren't always as diligent around this. And it's important that if you are in this group, if you have this risk, you want to find out much earlier rather than later.
And so is this something that insurance will cover in getting these type of, to adhere to these new guidelines?
Absolutely. So if your insurance covers preventive health care, then it should cover this testing as well.
Okay. And, I know that there's the American Cancer Association, the American Heart Health, you have the Lung Cancer Association. Could you provide any recommendations that Black folks can feel like, you know what, I'm going to a trusted institution or a trusted person to get more information and to keep up with this?
Absolutely. So Without a doubt, look at the American Medical Association. They are front line as far as creating this ban on cigarette smoking or menthol cigarettes, and so they have a great campaign that's running around that. But go to your regular doctor for your yearly checkup and ask for the new lung cancer screening. And if they don't know, tell them to call me, I guess, but they should know. And make sure that you're doing this, because it is always, it's a horrible situation when you find out something that you could have, found out a lot earlier and taken care of. And now that they're putting this in place, it's important that we do so. The question has always been false positives, right? We always are careful that we're not sending so many people out for screening and that they're false positives, and now we're treating people for things that they don't actually have, right? And we're also very conscious of the fact that, just overdiagnosing in general, that, lung cancer screenings can find cases of cancer that probably wouldn't have bothered anybody. That's why it's ending at a certain age. At 80 years old, they're not suggesting that you continue doing the screening, because at that point, if you do have that, it might, your likelihood of expiring for some other reason is probably greater than the lung cancer itself. And that's considered overdiagnosing, where we're treating people for things that they didn't really necessarily need to be treated for in the first place. And we always want to be careful about the amount of radiation you're getting from CAT scans, which is why they're suggesting a low radiation CAT scan for this, so that you can be healthy without causing new problems and actually new cancers.
I'm glad you're putting this out here, Doc. It's a lot to consider.
Important. And I want people to tell their parents and tell, their sibling. And if just because you quit does not mean that you're out of you're out of the way of harm of this. Even though you quit, which is obviously better than smoking itself, you still need to get screened.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Dr. Bridget, I always appreciate you for kind of highlighting certain things. And this right here is so important. Lisa, let's put, Doc's contact information again on the screen. Because, folks, if y'all got some questions, you got some thoughts, some things that you wanted to share privately with Doc, you can do so. Go directly to her website. Go to her Instagram page, but you can contact Dr. Bridget.
Link tree, which is
your
good.
Link tree.
Yeah, that's good too. That's good too.
Yeah. At info@bridgetmd.com, folks. Send her an email, info@bridgetmd.com, and you get to connect with Dr. Bridget Cole Williams, MD, and get all of the latest news and medical information and advice on how to make your life a little bit better and to reclaim your wellness. Doc, it's always a pleasure.
Yes.
We're
doing the after chat tonight, and so we continue talking about this, and we're doing healthy relationships also tonight on attachment styles, so that you have better.
Ooh, attachment styles.
Yeah.
Is that real?
Yeah, come on, join us.
All I'm asking is it real? Now I'm gonna be in the therapist chair. Okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Dr. Bridget, thank you so much for all the great work, and more importantly, thank you for being so good for the culture.
Thank you, Farajii.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I got to share with you just some news. Stay with us. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Another great segment with Dr. Bridget Cole Williams, Dr. Bridget MD for Reclaim Your Wellness. Again, folks, her after chat is at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, so make sure y'all check her out at Dr. Bridget MD on her Instagram page for the after chat. Join the conversation, and she'll continue to give you some news, information, and some other tidbits around this issue of smoking, and of course, as you said, heard her say, healthy relationships. All right, as we got the final few moments with you together, with us together, wanted to just kind of throw out some cultural tidbits. First, Lana, you said that, and we didn't even plan this. I didn't plan this, so I just thought this. I think you said, Lana, that you went to see Usher in Vegas. Epic show. If you get to go see after the Usher residency. Of course, we know Usher is going to be performing the Super Bowl halftime show. But I did come across this information, Lana. You may love to hear this as well. That New Edition has just signed on to do a residency in Las Vegas. So if you are big fans of New Edition, they will be doing their residency in Las Vegas very soon. So I'm sure as Usher comes to his close of his residency, they're going to be doing theirs. But I saw that, Lana, and I was like, let me just let Lana know the New Edition is coming back to do their residency there. There it is, right there. But here's something I did want to share with you, that if you're in the Oakland, California area, you might have heard that there has been another honor that has been bestowed upon highly acclaimed slain rapper Tupac Shakur, as a street was named in honor of Tupac in Oakland. There's a section of Oakland called MacArthur Boulevard near where he lived in the 1990s, folks, and it became officially Tupac Shakur Way. There it is, following a ceremony that included his family members and Oakland native MC Hammer. His sister was on the Diaz. She was there to show her support and love, saying, let his spirit live on the rest of these years in these streets and in your hearts. His sister, Sakiwa Set Shakur, she told the crowd as she was wiping away tears at the end of a nearly 2-hour ceremony. The sign was unveiled moments later. Let's throw that sign up once again, if we can, Lise. This is Tupac Shakur Way. This is in Oakland, right there in the MacArthur area of the city. So big shout out to that, to Tupac and to his family, who is continuing to make a difference, to continue to leave a legacy there in Oakland. MC Hammer, y'all know that you can't touch this. MC Hammer was on deck. He also spent many of Shakur's final months with him before his 1996 shooting death at the age of 25. MC Hammer said that in his remarks that Shakur was hands down the greatest rapper ever. There's not even a question of that. Wow. That's nice. Nice little nod from the legendary MC. So big shout out again to the family of Tupac Shakur, to his sister Set, and to all of the Shakur family. And they have gone through a lot of struggle, a lot of ups and downs, but they are finally getting their flowers years after the fact that when Tupac was slain. And of course, that legal situation with Tupac, with Keefe D, the gang member, quote unquote, who was allegedly responsible for the killing, even though he came up in court just a few days ago last week, he was making a point that he's not one responsible for the killing of Tupac. So there's that ongoing legal challenge there of seeing if he's telling the truth or if there's someone else that's responsible for the killing. But the legacy of Tupac Shakur will certainly live on in the city of Oakland. So big shout out to the city of Oakland for honoring one of our greatest poets and MCs. There it is right there. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you for tuning in. Make sure y'all check out all of the latest streams that we have here on Black Star Network. You can download the stream. You can see everything from the footage that we had of former President Donald Trump going to court today to some of the other conversations that Big Brother Roland is doing. He's in Virginia talking about the importance of the black vote and so many other special presentations. Of course, we're still streaming the life and legacy of Richard Roundtree, who played that great character of Shaft. That's streaming. Like, a lot of great content is streaming right now. So go to blackstarnetwork.com, download the app for free, follow us on social media. And if you enjoy the content, not just for our specials or any type of activities or events, but you also enjoy it because of the dope programming that we offer here on Black Star Network. We ask that you help us, that you financially donate something to help power this movement. And I cannot thank you enough for your ongoing support of the culture here on the Black Star Network, because it means everything to have you check in each and every day, be a part of the conversations, be a part of the great culture crew, and more importantly, continue to show your support for this type of medium. So go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Also, folks, keep your eyes on everything that's been happening on the political space. Tomorrow is election day for some cities, so we want to have some conversations around that. Like, what are the big things that are at stake? We are a year out, folks, from the national election. So I'm just going to prepare you. Going to prepare you. There's going to be a lot of talk about politics, elections, black folk engagement. There's going to be a lot of talk. We are officially a year out from the national election, and there's so much that we have to talk about. So much that we have to talk about. So this is going to usher in a lot of discussions about where we are in this country, and be open to new ideas. Be open to new ideas, new thoughts, new perspectives on these things. So we're going to certainly do our best to bring you into these discussions as well. All right, stay tuned. Up next at 6 p.m. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered, as always. But always remember this: never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture, right here, exclusively here, only here on the Black Star Network. Make sure y'all follow me on all social media platforms at The Real Farajii. Thank you to my dynamic production team, and God willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon and evening. Peace.